guys, how's it going? Welcome to this installment of Mike's Vehicle Vlogs, and I want to thank you all for joining me today. As today we are going to be doing one of our first maintenance things on the 2015 Ford Fiesta SE. Now, if you've been following this channel over the last 3 years at least, we've had this going on 3.5 years now actually. This 15 Fiesta, it's been a phenomenal car. We bought it with somewhere around 20,000 miles. We are getting ready to turn over to 41,000, so we've put a little over 20,000 miles on it in the last 3 years, and it's time for brakes. These front brakes are, well, they're just a few drives away, I believe, from there being no front brakes over here. We're just doing the fronts. The backs, I'm sure, are still fine. This is a disc up front, drum in the back setup. The drums usually don't wear as quickly as the fronts disc brakes do. And yeah, today we're going to be changing the brakes on this thing. I'm almost positive that these are still the original brakes on the car. When we bought the car, it was a certified used car, certified pre-owned. I don't know if the brakes were ever changed or not, but if not, then we got about 41,000 miles out of one set of brakes, just from us, 20,000 miles alone. Like I said, I don't know if these have ever been changed or not. I took this car to school with me last week, and I did a tire rotation, and I rebalanced all 4 tires. These tires are pretty much spanked. These tires up front now are making like a humming noise. It used to be humming in the back, but unfortunately the back tires had more tread, so they had to come up here, and now we have a hum in the front. So eventually, yes, these tires are going to be replaced probably before winter, and that's when I got a good look at the brakes, and like I said, they are extremely thin, and we're going to go ahead and take care of that because obviously you want brakes. Brakes are kind of important. So what we're doing is we got some parts from Napa. I don't usually shop at Napa, but they had the pads and the rotors for the cheapest that I was able to find. About $170 for both rotors and the pads, which they said are OEM spec. I wanted to make sure that we had OEM spec parts, so we got the Napa Proformer brake pads. I'm not sponsoring Napa, by the way. I'm just showing you guys what I went ahead and bought for this, and I left it over there on the step. But of course we got Napa rotors also. They said that, again, I wanted everything to be OEM spec, so these should be equivalent to what Ford originally put on the cars. Like I said, 170 bucks, not bad. These are small rotors. It's a small car, so the pads and the rotors really are not that large. What else did we get? We also got some, obviously some brake clean, Valvoline brand brake parts cleaner. We got a brush because we're going to be cleaning off the caliper bracket. I don't have any powered tools like a die grinder or something that you can attach a wire wheel to, so we're just gonna be doing it the old-fashioned scrubbing way. And of course a little tube of some brake parts lubricant that we're gonna use on like the caliper slides and whatnot. So that's what we're gonna do today. Hopefully this won't take too long. I don't imagine it being that long. And yeah, we're on the ground. My jack is not doing so well anymore. I did have the stand here, and it is lowering as we speak, but now the tire is back on the ground. But I did have it loose enough to where we can get the tire up. I may have to try to reposition it maybe, or I may actually have to use the jack that came with the car if need be. But yeah, it lowered, so now I have to try to raise it up again. The jack is leaking oil. It's an old jack now. It's like 9 years old, I think, 8 or 9. So I need a new, larger jack for here at the house, and I'll get it eventually. But yeah, let's go ahead and get this wheel off, and let's start taking these brakes apart and giving them the good old replacement. small tire. So other than having this car in school, this is the, second time that I've taken the wheel off in the entire time that we've had the car. But yeah, you can see rotors, of course, you know, we got the rust, obviously, replacing that. You can kind of see the rust ridge around the edges there. And if you look through the caliper, I don't know if you can really see it on camera, but there is barely anything left on these pads. So like I said, out they come, and get some nice fresh meat on there. Alright, so to remove the caliper, these look like they are 12mm bolts on the top and bottom. Oh, those weren't that tight. That's kind of a good thing, I guess. Tell you what, I like dealing with this stuff on a lift nowadays. Thanks to school and work. It's a little bit easier to be doing these types of jobs when you're not on the ground. Okay, so 2 12s for the caliper. And let's see if we can get these. Alright, there we go. See how far out the piston is pushed out. I wish I had I didn't bring my wire up here, so let's see if we can set this. There, that's okay. Alright, so I got it sitting on the tie rod, so that shouldn't go anywhere. And I'm taking the bracket off because, like I said, I want to take it over to the porch, clean it up, and you know, do what we gotta do to get it cleaned also. Okay, and the bolts to hold the caliper bracket on, obviously there's one here and the other one is down here. These are 15mm bolts. Wow, okay, that one was a little tighter. Okay, leave that one in. Let's try to get the bottom one. I have to move this up. Alright, there we go. Okay, 2 15s. Should be able to slide this baby right off. Oh, the rust. There we go. Yeah, there was a little more on there, I guess, but those are still pretty thin. And yeah. So there we go. Now this rotor I don't think is screwed on. No, but I might have to go get a hammer. We might have to pound it off. It looks like it's going to be on there pretty good probably. Oh, there we go. Ooh yeah, I wonder if that was maybe the original rotor. It does say Fomoco on it, doesn't say Motorcraft, so yeah. My guess is this is the original rotor. These brakes probably never have been changed in the entire time that this car's been on the road. So, there we go. Now as you can see here, we've got like some surface rust in between the spokes on the, or the studs on the hub face So I think what we're gonna have to do is I'm gonna take that brake clean and that brush, and I'm gonna try to brush some of this off, because you know, you may not have to do this if you don't live in a climate that's always, you know, changing, like Northeast Ohio. But around here, you know, everything rusts, and even the slightest bit of rust around here is going to maybe either cause a vibration or possibly you know, some squeaks and stuff, because the rotor is not going to be sitting on that hub face 100%. So we're going to take the precaution. I'll spray some brake clean on there, and let's try to see if maybe we can get some of that up, you know, as best we can. Alright, it's a little better. It is kind of difficult with the size of that brush. If I had a smaller brush, maybe I can get it a little bit better, but if you can't get all of it, then oh well. But it should be fine. I just wanted to try to make it look and sit as best as possible, but it should be okay. It shouldn't be too big of an issue, but it does look a little better. So let's go ahead and head over to the porch real quick with our caliper bracket and our pads, and let's go ahead and knock these out and clean this caliper bracket up a little bit. Okay, so this is pretty important here, because if we open up our new box, we got our pads inside, but we don't have hardware, and I don't like that. Unfortunately, I didn't know that there was no hardware with that. So the clips that are on here, we're gonna have to try to reuse, and that means we're gonna have to clean them up as best as we can. And obviously we'll put some lubricant on there. But first we gotta knock these old brake pads out. Yeah, so all this in here, I'm not even going to bother taking these clips out. Hopefully they don't pop out. But we have got to spray some brake clean, and we got to scrub and scrub and scrub and try to get these looking as rust free and as brake dust free as we can, unfortunately, because we're going to have to use these. Again, something like a wire wheel or something would be perfect for this, but I'm gonna have to try to hold it. I know the sun's casting a shadow. I'm gonna have to try to hold it and just brush with this as best as we can. See, so far, look at this. So if we look at this side, cleaned up pretty good, actually. Actually cleaned up really good. And you look at this side, oh yeah. See the difference? I sure hope so. Alright, there we go. I think that's the best that we're going to be able to get this one also. So, these look pretty good. Yeah, that's going to be the best that we can do, unfortunately. But it's good. It looks good. They got their shine back. We're going to put some grease in here. I know some people have mixed feelings about lubricating these grooves here. Some people say that it helps from keeping the pads from sticking over time, but I've also heard people say that it collects dirt and can cause them to stick over time. I don't know. So from what I was taught, we're going to grease these, especially because we're reusing these anyway. So we'll just add some lubrication here on both sides of these clips here, and I think we should be able to get the pads in here without fighting with trying to keep them in there before getting back to the car. Now if you look at the pads, these really don't look all that different other than just the direction that they're bent. But on the back sides, you see here that the side that goes up against the piston, which you can see the ring around there, have these two little tiny studs on the back of them, and the one facing the outside of the caliper bracket has nothing but that plate on it. So the ones with the little studs here, these are going to be your inside pads. By the way, look at the difference. Here's our used pad. There's our new pad. Ooh yeah. Alright, so we got our clips, lubricated. So now we're just going to go ahead and slide our new pads on. And the last thing that we really got to do to this is we're going to pull these out. These actually, these are kind of tough. So we're going to pull these slide pins out. Hopefully, there we go. And we're going to re-grease these also because these feel a little tight. I don't really have a brush on this thing or anything, so we're just gonna kind of dab it around. And I am just gonna take my finger briefly and just kind of, okay, just threw my rag away. Oh well. Then we'll stick it back in the caliper bracket. Give it a little bit of a wiggle. Yeah, it's already freeing up. I can feel it. Push it in. Alright, so here's our new rotor. There's our new rotor. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just douse this with the brake clean and just wipe it off, because a lot of times, a lot of these rotors might come from like the factory, and they have like oils and stuff on them. So I just kind of spray it real quick. Just lightly wipe it down. The brake clean will kind of dissolve, anyway. And then don't forget to hit the back also. And now, it's time to put it on. Alright, so now we're at the part where we have to push the piston back in, and hopefully with how far out this is, this boot won't get caught on anything. Hopefully it'll retract just fine. I cannot see the camera. There we go. So what I'm going to do with this is we're going to take one of the old pads. Ironically enough, I grabbed the pad that went here. We're just going to shove it on there, and then we're going to take our C-clamp, and we're just going to wind our C-clamp and push the piston in. If you have been adding brake fluid to your car because you were low, and the reason you were low is probably because your brakes were getting worn down, you may want to open up the reservoir, because once you start pushing this back in, all that fluid's going to either overfill. So open up the reservoir, maybe take like a turkey baster and suck some of the brake fluid out. Keep an eye on it. In this case, the fluid I was checking it, and it is almost at the min mark, and this is probably the reason why, obviously. So I'm not going to open up the reservoir. Once I get this piston in this side all taken care of, I'll look to see where the fluid's at, and before I start the next side and go from there. But I don't think I'm going to have to take the cap off. They make a brake compressor tool to retract these pistons, but I don't have one yet, so I'm going to resort to the old school C-clamp way, and hopefully we can get a good grip on there. It's kind of hard with the camera in the way. That should be alright. Wind it in. And take your time with it. Don't like rush it in. We can see it's already starting to retract, so that's cool. And the nice thing is too, this isn't fighting me, obviously, because this car is still relatively new. It's only got 41,000 miles on it, so the piston is moving freely. I'm not like having to like really try to crank on this to get it to go in. So if it's fighting with you, you may have a piston that's, you know, most possibly going to be worn in, or like worn out, I should say. I think we're just about there. Yeah, because my clamp's about to fly off. Take the pad off. Yeah, I think we're in all the way in our boot. Our boot on that retracted perfectly fine. Alright, so at this point we're going to put that back on that tie rod nice and carefully. And now we can actually put our caliper bracket and our pads back on. Yeah, trust me when I say that this goes by a lot faster when you're at work and you have the proper equipment like the lift and all the air tools and such to, you know, clean everything off and whatnot. You're not sitting on the ground and you're sitting on all the stuff you had to take off. Sorry guys, I had to move you because I needed the angle where the camera was. But anyway, you can see we got our two 15s in there. They're lined up. We're just hand tightening them for the moment. Okay, then we take our 15 ratchet, tighten down the rest of the way. Snug. There we go. All right, and that's it. So now we can put our caliper back on. Don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this without putting this camera back on the tripod. Make sure the pads are squeezed in. Yeah, like so. There we go. Make sure we're lined up with our slide pins there. And those are the 12mm bolts. Let's see if we got this lined up. Nope, not quite. Has to come up a little bit. Nope. Nope, not yet. Nope, we got it. There we go. Okay, so now we'll take the other one. Start that down there at the bottom. No idea where the camera's aiming. Here we go. Okay, so now take the
12mm socket. And these ones weren't overly tight, apparently. Just snug enough. There we have it. That's it. One side's done. In the end, these should be able to slide, this caliper, and you can see it's sliding back and forth. That's perfect. Alright, and that side is ready to go. So now we just got to start the other side. Alright, so once the car is back on the ground, now what we're going to do is we're going to actually tighten this to torque specs, manufacturer specs for this car. Lug nuts are tightened at 100 foot-pounds. Here we go. All done. So that's done. I'll show you guys the brake fluid now. So when I did the left side, or before I did the left side, before any of the brakes were done, like I said, it was, you can kind of see it through the min mark there. After I pumped up this caliper, or the piston, it started showing up in the actual like secondary reservoir. And if I open this up now, yeah, so it filled up more, you know, so it's still full. We have to obviously pump up the brakes and such. So let me go ahead and clean this stuff up, and we'll go ahead and take it for a spin. Alright, so now we're going to take it for a drive. First I got to put it back up there so I can get my Fusion behind the tech. So we'll go ahead and start it up. Emergency brakes on. There we go. Alright, now we got to pump the pedal. Whoa, to the floor. And now it's stiff. Wow. Feels good. Alright, cool. So the calipers should be, or the pads should be seating by now. Let's go ahead and throw it in reverse real quick. Close this up and we'll just back up and put it here, like I said, to get the Fusion up here. Then we'll take it for a drive and actually get it, you know, going. They feel like they're gonna be alright. Alright, now we're ready. You guys are probably gonna hear the growl of these front tires, and I'm sorry that I have the air conditioning on, but it is hot and I am hot, and you know, the air conditioning feels good. Alright, here we go. First stop. Oh yeah. Go this way. I think they're good. I think we're good. Yeah, I don't know if maybe one of these back tires, before I moved them up front, maybe like had a broken belt or something. I don't know if the tires maybe a little out of round. They were rebalanced. I rebalanced them and they all balanced out perfect when I was done with them, but the front tires are making noise now. And I had a feeling that that's what they were when they were in the back, the noise that I was hearing. So, like I said, these tires are, again, the original tires, and we're going to be most certainly replacing them before winter this year. I don't, yeah, it's stopping really good. I don't feel or hear any kind of like grinding on the brakes or anything. The pedal feels good. All she needs now are those tires and she'll be good to go. Alright, that's it. I got it back home. The brakes stopped. The wheels didn't fall off. We're good to go. So, that is the very first brake pad and rotor replacement for this 2015 Ford Fiesta. I am most certain that those rotors were still the original original rotors from Ford. And the pads, I don't know. I can almost guarantee the pads hadn't been changed ever before we bought the car. I'm pretty certain that those were probably still the original pads. And if they weren't, oh well. But you got to figure the car is 5 years old, and I don't know. I don't really see. I'm just going to assume that they were still the original pads, also. But you know, they were bad. I thought they were going to be worse. They looked worse when I originally looked at them at school through the little hole on the caliper. But it is what it is. It needed done for sure, and you can definitely tell that this thing is stopping a whole lot better. It's stopping faster, and I'm happy with it. I'm glad that my wife is going to be safe. So that's it. That's all I've got for today. If you guys enjoyed this vlog, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and also check out teespring.com/stores/Mike's Vehicle Spotlight for all of your MVS and vlog merchandise. And that's all that I've got for today, guys. So until next time, I will see you. Take care.